Hello everyone! I wanted to share my thoughts on all the standard characters and Wuthering waves, so if you're rerolling or thinking about who to select for your guaranteed 5-star, you will have a better idea of who to choose. If you're new here, I'm Sweetly, and I played over 200 plus hours of Wuthering waves between CBT1 and CBT2. I tried out all the characters, and I'm looking forward to creating more content for this game. I will also be streaming Wuthering waves on release for many days, so feel free to come drop by and hang out. My information in this video is mostly based off of the previous closed betas from my personal playing and testing. There could be changes on release, but if anything changes, I will post an update in the comments. There are currently 5 standard banner characters: Calcharo, Jianxin, Verina, Lingyang, and Encore. I would say Calcharo, Lingyang, and Encore are DPSs, while Verina is a healer and buffer, and Jianxin is like a tank with some CC plus a little bit of healing. I will go over the 3 DPSs first. Of the 3, I think Calcharo might be the strongest damage-wise. Calcharo is an electro-type broadsword user. In closed beta, you could also animation cancel some of his attacks, and he worked nicely on a dual quick swap DPS team. For instance, Calcharo plus Yingling was probably one of the strongest teams, with nice synergies between the two. Calcharo also has a very powerful counterattack when he perfect dodges, so it's easy to deal damage even if you aren't comboing. However, as a broadsword user, his attacks are kind of slow and clunky, making him not very smooth for parrying, and it's easy to get interrupted while doing his combos. Calcharo is also a pure DPS and doesn't bring any other utility to the team, so he might be more easily replaced in the future. The endgame tower mode does require 3 teams with at least 3 DPS characters, so you'll likely still be able to use him for quite a while. Next, we have a character that's pretty much the opposite of Calcharo, Lingyang the Lion Dancer. Lingyang is a glacial type gauntlet user, and in contrast to Calcharo's slow attacks, Lingyang's attacks are very quick and nimble. His main gameplay revolves around chaining his basic attacks with his empowered skill and performing aerial combos and rapid attacks. He was very fun to play initially, and his quick attacks made for easier parrying. However, I found him being airborne most of the time kind of awkward, since elevation can make you miss attacks and parries, and his quicker hits didn't actually translate to more damage. He is also quite single target, since his attacks are narrower. In closed beta, I think most players ended up playing him as a quick swap DPS by abusing a swap mechanic related to his skill, but I believe they said this might be patched. On to our cute Encore. Encore is a fusion type rectifier user, and she's basically a little fire mage. Encore switches between 2 gameplay modes. In her normal form, you mainly use her skill to deal range damage, and after she ulties, she transforms into more of a melee DPS that spams normal attacks. Encore has a very long animation on her charged heavy attack, but in closed beta, you could cancel the animation with character swap, which was pretty nice. Compared to Calcharo, Encore has a safer time DPSing, but has a harder time staggering bosses due to her almost inability to parry as a catalyst user. She also has the same issue of being a pure DPS without much utility built into her kit. Now for the non-DPSs. Jianxin is an arrow-type gauntlet user, and she's the closest to a tank character. Her skill puts her into a counter stance that automatically parries if you take a hit while preventing all damage. This is great for attacks that are really tricky to dodge. Jianxin can also create a decent-sized shield and provide a small amount of healing for the team. Outside of tanking, she also has one of the strongest AoE CC abilities. Her ultimate creates a vortex that pulls enemies together. This is extremely useful when fighting multiple enemies, especially in the endgame tower mode, with multiple enemy spawns and limited clear time. Jianxin feels like a safe pick, since she has high super armor, good AoE CC, tankiness, healing, and decent stagger. Her main downside is that she deals much less damage compared to pure DPS characters, and in a game where you can theoretically avoid all damage, a tank might not be what you're looking for. I do think Jianxin's grouping ability makes her more future-proof though, but in closed beta, she did often aim her vortex the wrong way. I'm really hoping they fix this. Last but not least, we have Verina, an adorable spectral-type rectifier user. Verina is a healer plus buffer, and at higher levels, she can automatically res one of your characters. Her charge attack is also a really fun way to dash around the overworld, and for a Catalyst user, she can surprisingly parry fairly well with the first hit of her attack. I've been liking Verina more and more since she buffs all characters and the healing is nice in the endgame modes. However, one thing to keep in mind is that everyone will receive a free 4-star healer and buffer, Baizhi, though Baizhi only buffs one other ally, and I feel like most of the endgame comps will be dual DPS focused. So Verina could still be a nice pickup with future value, since you might want one healer plus buffer in all 3 of your teams. In conclusion, I think who to pick will mostly depend on what you value more. If you're playing more for exploration and like fun DPS characters, I recommend Encore and maybe Lingyang if you like the aerial playstyle. If you're looking for more future-proof characters, then I recommend Jianxin and Verina. And if you just want a potentially OP DPS that works well with the Yingling, then I recommend Calcharo. One thing to remember is that you can test out all the characters in the game via their trials, so I highly recommend you try out the characters first before making a decision. Wuthering Waves is mostly a combat-focused game, so regardless of the actual character strengths, I think it's important that you personally like how the characters' attacks and animations feel. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing, as it really helps out my channel. Thank you! Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions and who you'll be personally selecting. See you in my next video.